Hello, here's another oracle reading for you. I felt drawn to do this because of what's going on in the world. Getting some spiritual guidance is very important at this time. And so what I would like to say is that obviously you can see here that I've got a card here that's not facing, you can't see the image on the card. That's because I just didn't think it was appropriate given the situation that we're in at the moment to show that imagery. But the card is the desert, okay, and it's the crowning energy for this reading, but I'll go back to that in a minute. So what we have here, and you can see it again for those of you who watched yesterday's video, the mountain. That was the first card that came out again. Can you believe it? And so the mountain came out again. So obviously this is a repeating theme, okay? But notice today how the mountain is tilted. Yesterday it was upright, okay, but it's tilted today. And all these cards are tilted, and this indicates energy that's in flux, transforming, a state of maybe chaos and conflict. It depends how you look at it, but this tilt indicates a change in that energy, okay? Disruption to that energy, okay? So it indicates action. For me, in the context of this reading, it indicates action, okay? So what I discussed yesterday was the potential for looking deeper, for dismantling old paradigms and so on and so forth, okay? Today we're looking at potentially the action or inaction that is being taken at the moment in the world, okay? So Underworld is the next card that came out, okay? And then we also have the Crone, which is here, and then the Mystic, and we have the Womb and the Pilgrim. And these, so if we focus on these cards, okay, on this side, so the underworld is not, too much of a leap for you to imagine what this means, but the underworld, in the context of this reading, is representing delving into or journeying into the darker aspects of, or the subterranean levels of our collective psyche, of our individual psyche, things that are hidden, concealed, okay, the potential for uncovering them, okay, to retrieve aspects of ourselves, because which is what they are, even if they are, how should I put it, like systemic things, okay? Within those systemic things, whatever it is that has been buried is part of who we are. And I was making that point, and I've made that point a few times over the last week or two, for those of you who know my story or bits of it, that what we have a culture in the world where there's like a class system, of where your rank is determined by your level of insight, okay? But that level of insight is guarded. So in the sense that information flow, freedom of information, is suppressed, okay? So we have a class system that is very controlled in that sense, but people don't really know, they're not aware that this class system, the extent of it and the depth of it, okay? So this underworld actually represents, I think, that hidden information, okay? And the process that we are undertaking, as you've seen with the Epstein files, but it's also the potential, okay? It's showing you what's beneath, the potential. And remember, this person, the alternative perspective that I gave yesterday was also with reference to disclosure, okay? This person, I also imagine them representing those who have this information and insight to offer, okay? And now it's been, so what we have here beneath that, coming out slightly from beneath this card, is that information. So it's almost like this person or monolith has been tilted on its side, and out of that tilt is shaken out from the mountain bits and pieces, okay, from the underworld, okay, bits and pieces from the underworld that hints and clues as to what's really going on beneath the surface, okay, hints and tips and insights and information from that monolith or person, okay, that are actually coming out into the world, so to speak, okay? So it's not just about the journeying, which we are doing, it's that those things are happening in tandem, okay, as you can see here with the Pilgrim energy, all right? But there's also information that is coming out that could be retrieved by us, okay, could be retrieved and could help enlighten us individually and collectively, okay? You know, there are people, I mean, I'm trying to highlight some of these things myself, but there are other people as well who are trying to do it, and it is there, but we have a choice about that, and it's all okay regardless, okay? But I'm just saying that this is what is happening. So there's two things happening. So again, we have that process of the undercurrent of things being not only delved into, but exposed, okay, partially. And there's a process that we can go on to retrieve, and this is the potential energy, to retrieve, okay, the insights that are offered here, all right? Okay, so we can do that. And this would lead you to the crone energy, which obviously crone energy represents wisdom. It represents insight and wisdom. And you can see that it's tilted. And again, that suggests a process underway or a potential, okay? I think of it more as a potential, all right? And so, but again, that it's there, okay? It's there as a possibility, all right? But there are also people, and it's, you know, I think the other thing though, in terms of action, because of the choices that are being made in the world at the moment, because of the action of the mountain, because of the disruption that is being caused through conflict and through other things, okay, there is the again, the tipping point that I've mentioned. We have a choice. There is you know, one thing I believe is that there's wisdom to be found in everything, okay? And you know, and there's richness, and every life is beautiful, but for the purpose of this reading, there are choices that we have to make, okay? And I think the crone also represents choice, as well as wisdom and insight. I think it also represents choice, okay? So there's a choice to make based on what comes out. What are we picking up with that beak? What's that beak going to, you know, what are we going to be available to access, okay? It represents choice. It represents choice on many, many levels. What is beneath the crone is the mystic. And the mystic is, again, it's the process of connecting with the divine, connecting with the collective, connecting with yourself spiritually, growing spiritually. And again, that's the potential energy. So one of the potential outcomes from this, and one of the processes we have available to us, and likely also potentially undergoing, and I pray for this every single day, is that we are going to be changing. Because you can see the butterfly here, okay? Or actually, is that a moth or butterfly? I don't know. But basically, you know, that process of transformation, all right, that we're undergoing. So that symbology there, that metamorphosis, you know, is there. It's present. It's an energy that is unfolding as we speak, okay? And so, but part of that transformation involves choice, but also the potential to grow through wisdom and experience, okay? But also insight into this, all right? So this is very important. And so, looking down into the womb and the Pilgrim, I've put these two together like this because I feel much like this energy here, although this is slightly different, but these two energies are like underpinning this reading, okay? So you have the womb tilted, you have the Pilgrim tilted, so you have, you know, basically we're in a state of becoming, Okay, so you know, changes are happening, the new things are being birthed into the world. There's a process of intense creativity, creation going on at the moment, even though it feels incredibly conflicted, and it is, okay, but there is a process of transformation and becoming that is taking place, okay, and also available. All right, okay, so it's not just energy in action, it's potential energy as well, okay. So it depends what your position, you know, it depends where you are, you know, at the moment in your life personally, but also how you see things collectively, how you would interpret that. But there are, you know, there's so much that's coming for humanity in the coming days, months and years, that again, this is like a long term, not just present energy, but potential also, okay, because more and more we're going, you know, you never, one thing I've learned is that you never reach a final destination point with, again, I've said this before, but there's no final destination with learning and understanding and growing. You have to revisit this energy all the time through this process, and we are finding that collectively, okay. The rug is being pulled up from under us increasingly at rapid speed, all the time, okay. Every time we think we, you know, we're struggling to find a sense of stability, and that's why we're seeing all this transit, you know, tilted energy in the reading, okay. So what I'm saying is, you have to revisit the process in this reading. So, you know, the process of delving, the process of journeying, the process of becoming, you have to revisit this all the, like, very, very often, okay. You know, in order to integrate, to understand, to uncover more, because learning never ends. So the womb is, again, that state of becoming, creativity, transformation, okay, but something new, you know, a new something new being birthed into the world. Sadly, at the moment, you know, we're looking at new systems and new all sorts of things, you know, that are challenging us, and other things as well, okay. But I'll, you know, I'm going to leave that out for this reading for now, okay. But also the Pilgrim is the other energy underpinning these cards, which is a bit more obvious because the Pilgrim, obviously, and it's tilted, the Pilgrim is on a journey, okay. As I said, the Pilgrim is journeying, okay, and the Pilgrim is a student as well. The Pilgrim is also a student. So the Pilgrim is open to receive, open to learn, open to create, open to understand, and is on, again, undertaking a process, okay. The top card here is the Desert, okay. Now I'm not going to show, that's the crowning energy for this reading. The Desert is very interesting, and you know, as soon as I took the cards out of the box, I turned them over. I turned them over. At the bottom was the Desert. The Desert has come up a few times for me over the last few days, and as I was shuffling, it came up again at the bottom, and I saw it again. I kept being drawn to it, okay. And I know we've got conflict going on in Iran at the moment, in the Middle East, so I understand, and this is one of the reasons why I'm not showing the card, because the imagery might be a bit triggering, and I don't want to go into that. But you know, earlier today, it's very interesting that the Desert came out, much like how I said about the mountain earlier, and this is indicative of the times we're in. But the Desert, earlier on I was thinking about Jesus in the desert, the story of Jesus in the desert, and how he was led into the desert by the Holy Spirit, and he was tempted by Satan a few times, and basically sent there for, you know, on a spiritual challenge, to face down Satan, and also endured incredible suffering, fasted for 40 days and 40 nights. And you know, part of the message of the card, well, part of the imagery of the card basically conveys that, you know, sense of being parched and suffering, okay. in the desert, that desert energy. So, you know, you imagine an arid landscape and a person, you know, undergoing, feeling very weak and weary, okay, and reaching for the moon in the image. And the moon represents feeling, it represents intuition, it's also a guide for some people as well on the planet, okay? And it's a guide for all of us. It has been a guide for all of us, the moon, in some way or another, okay? And so symbolically, though, for this, in the context of this reading, it represents spiritual guidance, okay? Intuition, feeling. It represents a choice as well. This, you know, thinking about yesterday's reading with the masculine energy, being in chaos, and then also you have the womb here. The mother, actually, it's interesting, and I'm going to mention this briefly, but I did a warm-up reading, and the siren came out tilted, and also the mother, okay, and the siren representing temptation, and so on and so forth, which is very interesting, which is why I feel really strongly about this reading, but also the mother, okay. And my concern is that we are parched for that energy, okay. We are parched for, because of the increasingly digital AI automated world where everything is being, the life is being sucked out. I feel personally, okay, is being sucked out of you know, the essence, okay, the again, that we are in a state of imbalance, okay, basically. Again, I'm not one for making too much of those sorts of things, but we are very parched for that at the moment. We are in danger of becoming too automated in our daily lives, too automated. And there's a vision I had earlier today as well, which lends to that, okay. And this is why I know this is a reading to share with people, but you know, and maybe I will write about that vision afterwards, but you know, it was not a nice vision, and I know it was linked to our current state of affairs. And the vision I had, again, not directly linked with this reading, and to do more with non-human intelligence, but basically that feeling of, I tell you why it resonates, is because of that feeling of things being drained from us, that parched hand that's in this desert card. It reminds me a lot of that vision that I had. And I think, you know, we're parched for spiritual guidance, okay. We're being encouraged to seek that spiritual guidance, okay. So with the mystic here and the pilgrim, we're being encouraged to take advantage of that and seek it where we can, okay, to go through the process, again, there are opportunities here. Okay. And this is one of the key things that this reading is showing, there are opportunities. But also, again, that quest for spiritual enlightenment, spiritual upliftment, and also for contacting our hearts, okay, for getting in touch with our intuition, for keeping hold of that. Don't lose, and also that outstretched hand in that card, you know, don't lose contact. A message of basically hold on to it. Do you know what I mean? Don't, you know, don't let go of those things that make us human, okay. All right, throughout all this, throughout all the conflict, the AI stuff, all the other things that are coming our way, don't lose touch, you know. But basically, it's quite sad, actually, if you think about it, but just, we are on the precipice, okay, of things becoming very, very, of going the other way. But there is, again, a lot of spiritual energy in this reading, in the sense that, you know, there's encouragement to reach out, to not let go, you know, to take advantage of these process, but also to acknowledge that we are everything is spiritual ultimately, okay? Everything is spiritual. There's no such thing as what is spiritual and what isn't, okay? I'll just make that clear. But we are undergoing a metamorphosis, and there are choices that we have to make. There's a process we're undergoing. There are things that are coming out that we can use to develop our insight, okay? So there are things available to us, okay? There are some other cards that I think what I will do is possibly, well, no, I think what I will do is I will just make brief mention here, okay, of these cards. So we have the King, the One, and the Venom. I've put these to one side, but they are relevant for this reading. The King, again, is that masculine energy, which is slightly in flux. Well, not slightly, it's in flux at the moment, okay? And the Venom, as I mentioned yesterday, and the Venom is the things in our world, things in our lives, which are poisoning us, okay? It has that representation to it, okay? And the One is also tilted. Now, there are a few meanings for these cards, okay? So, but the Venom is basically, these two cards acknowledge that, you know, this masculine energy, so to speak, is chaotic at the moment, or is unstable, okay? We are in a period, it's not even masculine energy, so to speak, it's more just that we feel unstable, okay? We live in a time of flux, okay? We feel ungrounded. The Venom is that toxicity in flux also, as a result of this chaotic energy. So as a result of this conflicted energy and chaotic energy, this is in motion, okay? It's proliferating in our society, okay? There is another layer of meaning to this, where this is being healed also as well, though, and this is what I'm hoping is good. Again, this is, you know, this may be more long term, okay, this interpretation, but also that this is being purged as well. So what is ailing us, again, with this underworld, okay, these things here, those two cards are very much linked, the underworld and the Venom. And if you notice, it's sort of peeking out here. I didn't place that deliberately that way, but it's very interesting actually. But you have the Venom, so what's hidden, and it's sort of peeking out, but it's there, ready, ripe to be purged, okay, through this process, okay? And then you have the One. Now, this also has double meaning. The One, okay, can mean a state of realization where we understand that we are one, and we are one, okay? We are one. We can reach that point, okay? We can reach that point collectively. That's another potential, okay? But this also, okay, represents a fragmentation as a result of this, so that we don't feel connected, we feel separate from each other, or that there's the, you know, that we are at conflict with one another, so we're not actually feeling that at the moment, given the current context of things, okay? So there are, again, lots of different strands to this. And then the other thing, okay, and this is to do with what I mentioned regarding AI human symbiosis, and there are people out there who are not going to want me to say this, but the One card came out with this message, intuitive message I heard, that yes, you know, they are trying to make us one, okay? Because before I started the reading, I was saying to myself, because of everything that I've seen recently, because of the synchronicities, because of all the other things that I've gone through and all the targeting, I believe that there is an attempt to merge human consciousness with AI consciousness somehow. And this came out in the reading with the message, yes, they're trying to make us one. Okay, so this is a state of becoming as well. All right, there are, again, It really depends on your perspective, how you interpret these cards. Okay, there are lots of different ways to interpret them, but in terms of present, future, and potential energy, that sort of thing. Okay, so I hope that helps. I hope that helps. You know, it's again quite an elaborate reading in some ways, and there's more that I could really say about all this, but I hope it's useful. It does all link in. Again, the flow of these readings has become quite something in lots of ways. You know, but yes, I hope it's useful. So yes, so thank you for tuning in. If you did watch to the end, I know it's a long one, but thanks once again, and